And good morning. You're now listening to Kingston Community Radio, airing on FM 92.5 and AM 920 WGHQ, Kingston, New York. This programming is brought to you by our listeners and corporate underwriters who are interested in presenting local community radio. The opinions expressed on this program do not represent those of Hamel Broadcasting or Kingston Community Radio. Listeners are encouraged to send in $10 per month to help bring this program to you and mail your contributions to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. For more information or to donate online, visit our website at mykcr.org. Good morning. This is Dan Gaddis, and thank you for tuning in and sharing the morning with us. It is Rabbit Day, and that means that if you say Rabbit in your family, if you're the first one, you get the good luck for the month. And it's 45 degrees right now here in Uptown Kingston. We'll be right back.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs
and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner?
Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity
not to make friends, but just to get something to eat?
Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hungered in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Cameron Rylance from Kingston, and I support Kingston Community Radio because it's informative.
And you're listening to KCR, Kingston Community Radio, WGHQ 920, on your AM dial, 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. A little bit about the weather today. There's going to be 6 to 8 inches of snow today, transitioning into freezing rain in the afternoon, a high of 26. And that's my April Fool's joke to you. Okay, I'll stop. That'll be my only one. Today, actually, it's light rain transitioning to a few showers for the afternoon with a high around 50. And the rain should be tapering off later on today. And that's a high of 50. Today and tonight, mostly cloudy skies this evening, becoming partly cloudy after midnight with a low of 31. And Saturday, plentiful sunshine and a high around 55. Saturday night, partly cloudy skies during the evening, giving way to cloudy skies overnight with a low around 35. And Sunday, light rain early, then remaining cloudy with a few showers in the afternoon. Chance of rain is 70% with a high of 47. And Sunday night, cloudy skies early, becoming partly cloudy later at night. A low of 34 for Sunday night. And let's get to the on-air studio with Hugh Reynolds and Mario Catalano. Are you ready, guys?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
On this April 1st rainy day in Kingston.
Yeah. 1st of April. Well, we made it through the tough 3 months. Yeah. January, February, March. Here we are in April.
All downhill from now.
Sunshine. The snow.
Well, except for the snow this morning.
Anyway, so it's good to be back.
Yeah, welcome back.
In the studio. I've been calling in from my winter home.
I didn't know.
But we're back in town. So that's it. Watch out.
The boy is back in town.
Look both ways when you make a turn now that I'm back on the road. So Huey, as anticipated, I thought we could start with the fact that a New York State Supreme Court judge threw out the reapportionment, New York State's reapportionment.
And why did they do that?
Well, for a few reasons. Number one, the folks who were contesting the makeup of the new congressional districts.
Excuse me, Mario, was it just Congress or, well, the whole plan included the
And
legislature?
but mainly, I think his big concern was the fact that there were 0 competitive congressional districts.
Wow.
There were 4 that were completely stacked for Republicans, and the remainder, 22 or 23, were completely stacked for the Democrats, and that there were no creative, no competitive districts were created in the plan. And at the moment, the Republicans have 8 seats, and there would be virtually no chance they could win any of the other seats. They would be reduced to 4 seats for the next 10 years. And so he said it was a completely one-sided plan. The governor and the state attorney general, for some reason, think that this was an appropriate plan, and so they're appealing. They're appealing the decision. It's the governor signed off on this because, she's running and she'd sign off on anything. If he could have done a 27-0, she probably would have signed off on that one too.
Pete Savego, legislature.
Yeah, but in any event, the issue is not resolved. It's only postponed. So, and the reason it's postponed is because the judge was a Republican-appointed, a Republican-elected judge in a very friendly upstate community. This will get appealed, and if it goes to the Court of Appeals, which is the highest court, all 13 judges on the Court of Appeals are Democratic appointees. So, and for some reason, a justice is blind when it comes to partisan politics. So my guess is there's no chance. I mean, all this is doing is postponing the inevitable. But my guess is that this plan is going to stand. And very similarly, in other states where there are issues, those plans will probably stand as well. Judges do not like to overturn reapportionment plans for some reason. So I don't know. What's your take on this?
I think it's one of the most cynical exercises of political power that I've seen in a long, long time, from the get-go. This charade that they put out a bipartisan commission appointed by by houses of the legislature, and then didn't fund the commission. I mean, you could see the end game is where we're sitting. Didn't fund the commission, so it couldn't function without staff, and it didn't. And then time went by, and then time became critical because there are the primaries are in June, late June, I think the 28th.
28th of June.
Yeah, and so that was an excuse for rushing in. They didn't rush in. They had it pretty well figured out probably when they appointed the commission. They didn't have time to really change anything, to really challenge anything, and I would advise listeners any time you see a legislature that says we don't have time to do this, we have to do it today or yesterday, become exceedingly suspicious, and so now it plays out where as you point out, a Republican judge ruled it unconstitutional. I think he used the word gerrymandering several times in his ruling, and they'll appeal. They can appeal pretty quickly, right up through the chain of courts up to the Court of Appeals. I don't know if the state's highest court has 13, Mario. I think they have 7, because at the first appellate level, there are 3 appellate judges that sit on cases within the district. So, but regardless, if they're all Democrats. And pretty much lifetime appointments, don't they?
I believe so.
Yeah, so they ought to be. The idea was they'd be free to make nonpartisan judgments, but with that kind of an edge, 13-0 or 7-0, you can see which way this is going.
Now remember, this is all on the back of we the people passing.
In order to form a more perfect government,
passing I believe it was a constitutional amendment to create this bipartisan Commission, the people of New York State overwhelmingly said, we want bipartisan
gerrymandering.
Reapportionment, and what we got was essentially sold out by our legislators who went along with this. And I think one of the local legislators was quoting as saying, well, it was better than what the Republicans did. I mean, that's a
that may be questionable.
I believe your assemblyman said that in the newspaper. That, this plan was better than the one that the Republicans did. So because they were bad people, we want to be bad people. So that's a good, I guess.
Stalin was worse than Hitler.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, we would be interested in hearing how our disenfranchised listeners feel about this. So if they would like to speak, our phone number here is 331-9255. This is Kingston Community Radio, Hugh Reynolds, Mario Catalano, taking on the hot political issues of the day. So speak up, folks. Well, first wake up and then speak up. How's that? And don't
stay in
forget
bed.
to brush your teeth in there, all right? Anyway, so have we completely beat up on this reapportionment deal or what? What do you think? So,
Well, you consider it at this point a moot issue. So.
by the way, I saw in a map of the 100 and I believe the new 103rd Assembly District.
Cahill's district.
No,
yeah.
not Cahill's. Is Cahill in 101?
No, he's 103. 103.
All right, he's in 103.
101
New
is it?
101
Yeah,
is
I've seen it.
200 miles long.
It's a snake that runs through the middle of New York.
Are you kidding me? 200 miles for an assembly district? I mean, that assemblyman ought to be given a car as part of his package or her package. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much. I do have a question on the topic you were just talking about. First, though, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the show. I watch it every 2 weeks, and the information, the guests, you truly, it's just excellent. And April Fools. Just kidding.
I was about to thank you, caller, and now you're cut off.
No.
Don't ever call back.
Truly, though, you truly are excellent and the best, and you are very appreciated. So it's a little humor for April Fools.
Very little.
But with that said, just speaking about the reapportionment, and I want to ask you, it seems like when it's election time, primary time, anything like that, this isn't a topic that even comes up for voters to consider how a candidate would approach this issue. And just hearing you now, it made me realize this issue could really define a whole lot. And so my question for you is, could you ever see this issue really being raised during election time that could actually inform how people might vote for a candidate and hold them to it if they say they'll commit to a certain standard or approach to this? Could this ever really come to the forefront when something really could be done about who gets in and how they might approach reapportionment? Thank you.
Well, I think it has to be. It's not going to be raised by the politicians. Not even opponents of incumbents. And like you say, caller, it almost never comes up in debate between two or three, in some cases, candidates. I think part of it is that once it's done in its kind of sordid, secret way, then it's done, and people don't talk about it. You're in this plan for 10 years, and we'll talk about it in about 9 years. But that doesn't say that good government groups, the media, which is not the media it used to be, the media can raise this as an issue, and I think they should, and I think we will, and I think we just did.
Yeah, and you think about it, it came up in the last election when it was on the ballot, and the people said what they told their politicians what they wanted, but they just they go about their own business. And you're right, I think, about the opponents not bringing it up, because if they win, they want to have something to say about how their districts are reapportioned. So it's unfortunate, because the one thing I do agree with Cahill on is that the Republicans gerrymandered intensely to keep the Senate. And now it's almost like he didn't say this, but what his intention was, well, this is payback, because you guys did it to us, so now we're going to do it to you, even though that's not what the people wanted.
Well, just diverging quite a bit, but then I hope quickly coming and finishing up with this topic. In terms of payback, take a look at Washington. I think the way that Judge Jackson was examined by some Republican senators was atrocious, and of course what Democrats did to the Republican nominees was equally egregious. There's no one down there, it seems, that can say, okay, enough of this. Let's start with a clean slate, and let's look at these candidates on their merits.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of TV shots.
Well, the state of the body politic in this country is disgraceful, in my opinion. Disgraceful, and there are no innocent people there. All right, they're all guilty as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
All right, so we're on fire this morning. We've got another caller. Good morning, caller. What is your issue?
What is my issue?
Or what would you like to speak about?
Well, we could talk about the reapportionment. We can talk about the budget.
Okay.
Well, what do you want to talk about?
Absolutely, we're here.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I have a comment to make and then a question to ask you fellas. First of all, the Court of Appeals are 14-year terms.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Unlike which is the highest court in the state, unlike the Supreme Court of the United States, which is a lifetime term.
Beautiful.
But that being said, they should take all these congressional districts and assembly districts and draw boxes and meet the one equal voter rule or whatever they
one man, one vote. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and make it work. And instead of, you look at the 19th district, it goes from the Connecticut border to the Pennsylvania border over in Binghamton someplace, and down in the 18th district is just Orange County and a piece of Putnam and Rockland County. So it's really, I know they have to do, but they move these lines all over the place. You don't even know. They separate counties. The counties should all be in one district if they could be, and that's the way it should be. And where the chips fall, they fall.
Okay, we got that. Do you think that's ever going to happen?
Probably not.
Okay.
but and Maryland did change, redo the reapportionment. So it changed in Maryland. Whether it'll change in New York, who knows? Now the other question is, what does Kingston and Buffalo have in common except snowfall?
I don't know. What is it?
They both have taxpayer money using to fund corporate individuals' greed and profit. We have the Kingstonian and the people in Kingston, and Buffalo has now the stadium up there, and $800 million, of which the concession stands are all managed by by the governor's husband, Delaware North, and they're going to play 6 football games a year there, maybe 7 if they get in a playoff game, and the taxpayers are going to fund it for $800 million.
So I take it you're not a Bills fan.
I'm a New York fan, but I think they, like everything else, they should foot the bill. People in Kingston, New York, shouldn't be paying for an $800 million stadium in Buffalo, nor should they be paying for it, for that matter, in New York City either, or the Meadowlands, or any place else. When these football teams are going for millions of dollars and the players are making millions of dollars, there's a lot of money being thrown around there.
Exactly.
We are in complete agreement with you. We are.
So that's all. Happy April Fool's Day, and you can continue.
Yeah, a couple old fools on the air. Why not?
The ultimate April Fools.
Anyway, what do you think, Hugh? That was a decent points being made. However, let's look at some of the reality here. The governor's from Buffalo, all right, and she's pushing a little money in the direction of Buffalo. The state is flush with dough. The federal government is going to take in $1.8 trillion in tax money this year, way ahead of any other year. Nobody wants to give credit to where it belongs, which is the Trump tax cuts, because with the advent of those tax cuts, the economy took off. And so, I mean, and I'm not saying that's the only reason, but what I'm saying is let's call a spade here. Tax cuts always generate more income, not less. But and Exhibit A is the federal government, and Exhibit B is the New York State government. So they're sitting on they've got so much money they don't know how to spend it.
So they took in more revenue than they ever have in history, and yet they're running a $1 trillion plus deficit.
Yeah, because the problem is they can't control spending.
Obviously.
I mean, that's the issue. But anyway, so what we forget is the fact that back when the Republicans controlled the Senate, they built the stadium, Syracuse University. The Carrier Dome was paid for by taxpayer money. The state senator from Syracuse, a guy by the name of Tarky Lombardi, was the chairman of Ways and Means.
Oh boy!
And he had the purse strings, and he represented Syracuse. They came to him, hey, look, we need a dome stadium here. This is Syracuse. It's no problem. Bingo.
Kingston many years ago, had a chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, and later majority leader, Arthur Wicks.
Yeah.
And as you point out, with Tarky Lombardi building a God knows how many hundreds of $1 million dome out there, Arthur Wicks steered the thruway through the western down the western side of the Hudson River.
The thruway was originally planned to be built on the other side of the river. And not only did Wicks do that, but Ulster County is one of the few counties that has 3 exits. On that, Orange County got 2, and Rockland County,
and Rosendale Cement in that road.
Oh yeah, Rosendale Cement, right? Wasn't it all? I think it was written in.
All 5%.
Wow. God bless.
What a guy.
Yep, Senator Wicks. He's our man. But that's just the way it is. Do I agree with? Yeah, I absolutely agree with this guy, because you know what? Enough is enough. The Dallas Cowboys right now is worth $6.6 billion. The guy bought it for about $150 million. It's now worth $6.6 billion. Virtually every professional football team is worth over $1 billion, and they need a new stadium. And you know what he did? He did what they always do.
Threatened to leave.
We can't stay here. This stadium, and you know what it all comes down to? Luxury boxes. They want to be able to sell those tickets. I actually consulted with a company that used to take their key partners to a Monday night football game, and they would get a luxury box. That luxury box for one game cost $35,000 for about 8 people to sit and watch a game from a luxury box, and it included some food, hot dogs, and I mean it was nothing. I mean,
how was the view from up there? What's it like to sit in a luxury box?
It was lousy. They took us to the first game at the new Dallas Stadium, and it was Giants Dallas. So I went. They said, "You want to come?" Absolutely, I'm in. We went to the first game. So I became an instant hero because what they do is they send a couple of Dallas cheerleaders up to the, and so I got a picture with 2 Dallas cheerleaders, which I texted to my 2 teenage boys. And every one of their friends, they were like genuflecting when I walked by because I had this picture, my arms around a couple of Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. But the view was awful because.
You mean the cheerleaders were ugly?
No, I'm talking about the game.
Oh.
The view was terrible because you're sitting at the same level as that jumbotron.
Oh, you can't see around it?
So no, it's not that you can't see around it. It dominates the whole view shed. So why are you watching the game when the game's in front of you about 50 times bigger than it is on the playing field? And so I watched the whole game on the jumbotron. It was at our eye level because we're up so high. It's right at your eye level. But this is the nature of the beast. All of the stadiums, the old, and again, what they do is they sell these boxes to corporations, and a corp might pay $1 million for that box for the whole season, and you know, they get the tax deduction. So that's what this is really all about, is this luxury box stuff. That's why all the old stadiums are getting replaced, because they want all this additional income. It's all about income. And you would think that somebody would say, look, you know, we'll loan you the $850 million, and you can pay us back with, you know, we'll surcharge the luxury boxes, or you pay us back out of the ticket take or something of that nature. Give us $5 a ticket. You're charging $150, you know, to go to a game. So give us $5 and you know, pay us back. No chance. Nope. These owners are pigs, and most of them, you know,
they're billionaires anyway.
Are billionaires. I mean, you know, and so can anything be done about it? Sorry, caller, but the governor, you know, has spoken. It's in her budget. So is the $200 million for housing that our senator wants.
Nice segue, but let's talk about that. Let's talk about
$200 million.
Now, we haven't had any word yet on whether the state budget was approved last night.
No, nothing. I checked the papers this morning. There was no indication that. I think there's still some serious negotiation going on up there, you know, because I believe this budget was presented without the 3 people in a room deal going on.
Really?
Yeah, I think there might have been some negotiation, but then she just dropped this budget, and there's a lot of things in there that they may not have known about, and now they want to negotiate. So, if anything, I think
they've had 3 months to figure out what's in that budget. She presented it in early January.
Oh, she presented it in January?
Her budget, the $216 billion budget, was by law.
So maybe there's some pushback on some items.
Yeah. That's possible.
And they, you know, they've got to be careful because she's dominating the primary. You know,
we can talk about that. I think Andrew Cuomo is within shouting distance.
You think Cuomo makes a run for this thing?
I think he's that kind of political animal. I don't see this guy 65 years old. He's in pretty good shape. I don't see him sitting out the rest of his life on the sidelines. I think he's running for something. He's running TV ads that I thought the campaign was on now. He's running TV ads that are taken from 4 years ago.
I don't watch much TV, so I'm not seeing them. But
I see
all right. Well, anyway, this is 331-9255, Kingston Community Radio. We're on the Andrew Cuomo running for governor. Anybody has an opinion on that? We'd love to hear it. Come on, wake up, brush your teeth, and get to the phone.
Give him the number
in that order. Anyway, so here's my take. My take is that he may be testing the waters. Okay, he may be testing the waters. I think it's going to be very difficult for him to get on the ballot for the primary. Doesn't he have to get a massive number of signatures?
I think 15,000 statewide.
15,000 good signatures.
So that's 30.
Yeah, 30,000 signatures, and I haven't seen a petition yet. So I think he actually is trying to clear his name.
Okay.
And by the way, By the way, I am a big proponent of the Italian defense. All right? Because
Catalano said,
if you walked into my house, everybody got hugged. The delivery guy got hugged. The mailman got hugged.
well, some of this stuff that he's accused of is a little beyond hugging.
Got hugged. All right. So are we going to break? All right. Time for a break. And when we come back, we're going to pick up the Andrew Cuomo potential race debacle.
Okay, thank you. Mario Catalano and Hugh Reynolds. And thank you for being here today with us here at KCR, listeners. And it is AM 920, 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. It's Friday, April 1st, and it's about 45 degrees right now here in Uptown Kingston. And we'll be right back after these messages.
What grows in the forest? Our imagination and our family bonds. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council. Look through your children's eyes, and you will discover the true magic of a forest.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you will feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org. Because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Shirley Stabe from Kingston, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
And you're with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, and streaming online, mykcr.org. April 1st today, and it's Friday, and it's 45 degrees right now here in Uptown Kingston. And this morning's program is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, one near you. And a little bit about the weather right now. Kind of a little bit of a light rain transitioning to a few showers for the afternoon with a high around 50. 90% chance of rain today. And mostly cloudy skies this evening with a low of 41. Saturday, plentiful sunshine and a high of about 55 degrees. And Saturday night, partly cloudy skies during the evening, giving way to cloudy skies overnight with a low around 35. Sunday, light rain early, then remaining cloudy with showers in the afternoon. 70% chance of showers for Sunday. And Sunday night, cloudy skies early, becoming partly cloudy later at night with a low of 34. Let's get back to the on-air studio with Mario Catalano and Hugh Reynolds.
Good morning. Good morning. We're back. We'll pick up where we left off, and then we left a few things out that we want to pick up on as well, because old guys forget stuff. You know, and let's face it. You know, I have notes, but I forget my notes.
This is our stream of consciousness.
There you go. So I think we can probably put the Cuomo thing to bed. I have a feeling that he's more interested in spending some money on the PR and clearing his name and looking better, and maybe in the future, you know, getting a cabinet post or, you know, a judgeship or something of that nature. I just don't think that he has a chance. Although the polls indicate that he does. That was a Siena College post.
Yeah.
Maybe we ought to bring our Siena people back.
Siena guy down here.
You know what? Why don't you make a note? Let's see if we can get him in here and see if we can get a take on this poll for the next show.
Consider it done.
Consider it done. And we have another caller. Good morning, caller. What is your subject, and what would you like to discuss?
Sure thing. About this topic here, Cuomo potentially running again, and just had kind of ask them about a certain perspective on it and see what they think.
What did he just say?
I'm sorry. I missed the end of it. What would you like us to discuss?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm sorry. My question is this. Comment with a question. About Cuomo running again. I also saw about this Siena poll, and I think there was another one done just before this.
Yeah.
I think had him within 4 points, and the Siena polls within 8 points. And at first, as just a layman, I was really surprised. So who are they polling here? But I just want to offer a perspective and then get your take on it. Prior to this moment, and if you go back to the summer of 2020, when life was really dire, particularly for New York, and Cuomo was doing his daily briefings, a lot of New Yorkers, and for that matter, a lot of people across the country, I think, were tuning in. And his delivery, his straightforwardness with this dire situation, giving us information, the data, trying to unite us, he won a lot of fans and a lot of praise in a way that certainly I don't think he had before. But at the same time, those that worked with him, politicians on both sides, I think despised the guy. They've always despised the guy. And he won a lot of favor in that moment. I think there's a lot of people, despite everything that happened since, really feel, what's the word? They're appreciative.
Grateful.
It's like grateful, indebted. A lot of people feel that he pulled the state out of that incredible hard time. And so I'm saying this because, granted all that has happened since, I remember at the time when it was happening, I really thought that the politicians, and on both sides, but particularly I think the Democrats who really hated him, they were missing that point. They were going after him, and this is when, he's saying that's not true and this is here, when there were a lot of folks who still felt like he really delivered in a moment. So this is my question for you. I'm not saying that I would vote for him again, but do I appreciate summer of 2020 and appreciate him before everything came out? I do, on a personal level. Those briefings gave me something to hold on to know what the hell's going on here in a very scary time. And I'm wondering if part of the reason why, and this is my question for you, do you think that he could squeeze one more vote out of some folks, despite everything else, because of that? And is that where he's showing up in the polls as high as he is, which is surprising to me? Do you think there's another component here that maybe some of these politicians who just despise him are overlooking or maybe underestimating that? And that's my question for you.
And our answer is yes.
Yeah, the polls...
Thank you.
Yeah, the polls have spoken. Evidently, there are at least approximately a third of the electorate, or at least on the Democratic side, who feel like you do, that maybe we could overlook some of this, maybe there was some, extenuating circumstances. I'm not sure what they're thinking, and maybe they're interested in competency and not necessarily as worried about the other issues that brought him down. I don't know, because everybody looks at these politicians differently, but he definitely, even though he was feeding us a lot of bad information, now they've done an audit and found out that they weren't accurately reporting the deaths in the nursing homes. He was sending people to nursing homes when there was a hospital ship in New York Harbor that he could have sent them to, but because it was put there by the federal government, he didn't want to share the glory or whatever it was. So, I mean, there's just so many damn things that were going on here. There were so many moving parts. I'm not sure, but here's what, and I'm going to agree with Mr. Reynolds on this one. Anything is possible, especially in New York State. Anything is possible. Is that a reasonable summation of your thoughts? Essentially,
A reasonable summation of my thoughts is that I can't vote for anyone credibly accused of abusing multiple women or killing multiple senior citizens. And I can't vote for that guy. I don't disagree with the caller. I didn't particularly like his presentations. After a while, they kind of wore on me. Yeah. He was kind of he's pontifical to begin with, and he's overbearing, which may be some of the reason Democrats hated him. Difficult personality, which on television was revealed. Just an overbearing dictator type guy, ego driven, what have you, which might explain some of the abuses he's accused of. I thought he wore out his welcome. The other issue that Catalano didn't raise was the book, the $5 million advance. I mean, if that's not taking advantage of your political office, I don't know what is. I can't disagree with you, caller, because the polls, like Mario said, there's a third of these people polled. Although you raised the question, who are they polling? But they're supposed to be scientific.
800 registered voters.
Yeah, but the polls are not always right.
And I think I'll add, just to add though, listen, I'm agreeing with everything that you're saying. I'm not saying I'm going to vote for the guy. But another point though in these polls, I think both of them was, despite how well he seemed to be doing, right, compared to Hochul, when they asked the question, do you think he should even run?
Yeah.
A vast majority said no.
2/3.
So it's like, I don't think the guy should run again.
That's a paradox.
No?
The guy gets a third of the vote. I'm sorry, caller.
Go ahead.
I'm over speaking you. That is a paradox, which the pollsters might better explain. It doesn't make sense.
I know.
65% of people say don't run, but a third.
So here's how we'll wrap this up. We've had on numerous occasions had the pollsters from Siena on this show. We're gonna bring one of those on the next show to kind of explain that whole
excellent.
To explain that situation, because we're both confused as well. That 34% said that they would support him for governor, and 67% said please don't run. So was it everybody who wasn't supporting him for governor said please don't run, or the others say, well, I would support him, but I'd really rather not have him run? I would just like to get a better perspective of what happened there, because it's a very interesting dynamic, and you and I and you Reynolds aren't the only three people wondering about that.
Part of this equation might be Kathy Hochul, that she really hasn't developed traction after, what's it been, 7 months in office since last August? More than that, I'm not doing the math, and that she hasn't come across as well as she might. People are not sold on her. So maybe
and a lot of people.
Go ahead.
A lot of folks didn't even know who Kathy Hochul was. They had no idea. It was the first time they ever heard her name and saw her face for a lot of people. That when she had to take over.
Well, being a lieutenant governor or a vice president is one of the most obscure jobs in government.
Yeah.
Well, listen, fellas, I thank you so much. I just enjoy the show. I learned so much, and I really look forward to when you can get someone.
You're not going to hit us with another April Fool joke, are you?
No. It's genuine.
This is genuine
all year long. So
thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye-bye.
All right.
He's a regular. I like that guy.
April Fool. Yeah. We're not going to answer your question.
No.
Anyway, all right. Well, listen, we're on a roll here this morning, and we're at 331-9255. If anybody else out there in Radioland wants to weigh in, we're having a lot of fun with these questions. We love the questions. That way, we don't have to think, and most of the time, we forget what we were thinking anyway. So. If you could bring yourself to giving us a call if you have a question or anything about politics, we are your guys. And we're
I got to share this with you. You know, we have a vast audience out there. And unfortunately, only a few actually call in, but they do listen. I was picking up a bagel this morning at about 6:45 at B&B Bagel, and this guy was standing next to me. He had a mask on and a hat down over his eyes, so I won't mention his name, but I didn't recognize him at first. And he says to me, "You know, 7 o'clock comes pretty early in the morning, doesn't it?" And I said, "You're a listener?" He said, "Oh yeah." He says, "I don't miss it." He said.
So you picked up one bagel?
Just one.
There are three of us here.
I'm sorry.
One bagel? I mean, how far does one bagel go?
In thirds,
hello?
right?
I mean, come on, pal.
I guess it's too late.
Damn.
We can split it three ways.
No, you know what? Next show, I'll bring the bagels because this is ridiculous.
We can invite Cahill. He always brings stuff.
Yeah, Cahill. Well, yeah, then you got to put up with Cahill.
Well, there's that.
No matter how much food he brings, you know, that's still a tough, you know.
Yeah.
That's
a heavy lift.
Oh,
yeah.
that's you know, yeah. But you know, he really has polished his act. He can go on for hours and not even take a deep breath. I mean, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. He's in really good shape. You know.
His brother once told me that when Cahill was a toddler, he was in the crib. So he wasn't a toddler. He was a baby in a large family. I think there were 10 kids, including a set of twins in Kevin's family. And he wasn't talking yet, but he'd somehow figured out how to whistle. And we'd hear this whistle. It's all, and they'd go in and see what he wanted. Anybody can whistle, Steve.
Well, okay, so... where are we? Do you have anything pressing? Anything else?
I have nothing pressing, but there's a couple of things that we talked about that I'd like to cover. Can we circle back to the real estate interest in investments in our state senator? I know you've done some more research on this.
You know, I just, you know, to me, 2 and 2 wasn't adding up. Okay, we have a progressive state senator who absolutely refuses to reveal or discuss her position on the eviction law. What do they call that? The fair something eviction.
Yeah, it doesn't come to mind.
And you know, it became very obvious at some point that the realty community was definitely opposed to protecting tenants from eviction. All right, it's just very, very obvious. And by the way, I mean, full disclosure, I once owned some rental properties.
So did I.
And the truth of the matter is, it was such a nightmare that we gave them up. I had a partner, and we had an apartment house in Saugerties, and we had one in Cairo, up in Greene County. We had a total, I think, of 10 rental units, and it was nothing but a nightmare.
You mean evicting tenants?
Oh, and rents and trying to get somebody evicted, and the way the condition, the apartment, we virtually had to redo the apartments every time somebody moved out. It's a very tough business. It's a very tough business, and you know, I'm in favor of some balance here. I don't think folks should be able to come to town like they did, and move and buy Stony Run, and then start raising the rents and driving people out. I don't think that's fair. That was done there, and I believe it was done at the old Andretta property.
Dutch Village.
Dutch Village, I believe the same thing happened. People were really just forced out of their apartments so that they could upgrade them and double the rents. I mean, and folks, there are a lot of folks in some of those communities that have been there for 25 years, and it was shameful what happened. And so I'm not taking anybody's side here. What I'm saying is, and again, what I'm saying is, to me, it just triggered a suspicion when a very progressive senator refuses to take a position on this, which caused me to go back and look at, as you know, always follow the money.
Into the pocket.
And in my opinion, it's always follow it into the pocket. So so the folks here in town, there's an organization, the name evades me. I don't know anybody in the organization. I'm not taking their side on this, but they pointed out that the Realtor PAC had given a campaign contribution to the state senator, Michelle Hinchy. And I said to myself, well, I was the chairman of the dental PAC. I gave a lot of contributions to senators and assemblymen, but not one contribution was ever enough to prevent them from taking a stand. And so I didn't believe that a contribution from the Realtor PAC would have been sufficient to cause the senator to essentially clam up on this issue. So I went back into just one of the campaign documents. And within, I would say, about an hour, I found over $25,000 in contributions from realtors, lobbyists, developers, etc. I thought, whoa. And by the way, I didn't look at 10% of the documents. The first 2 or 3 pages, and I think there were 31 pages. I did like 3 pages, and I've got here's one. Some guy in Muncie by the name of Barnett. Both he and his wife gave the senator $5,900 each.
Which is the maximum, right?
That's the maximum. So they maxed out, and it was actually an early Christmas present. It was December 23rd, and that's almost $12,000 from. And who is this guy? He's a real estate developer. Then I found another guy by the name of Eisenberg, $2,500. He's a real estate investor and developer in the city. All of these came out of New York City. Nobody. The only local one was a guy in Goshen, who just coincidentally also. Charles Catanese from Goshen dropped. So far, I found I think 2,000 or 3,000, and he's a real estate. He's a landlord. Then the Durst organization. Everybody knows Durst. He killed how many wives? He's Bryant Park in New York City, $2,500. I mean, we're not talking chump change here. We're talking about some significant. How about John Gallagher? He's dropped, I believe, $1,500. He's a real estate agent in New York City. George Fontes, he dropped $500. He's a lobbyist for the real estate industry.
Hold just a second.
Bing, 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 bing. I mean, I'm talking about this whole campaign. If you look at her documents, this is like a who's who of the real estate industry.
Given plain devil's advocate here, Given that, and you might comment briefly on how difficult it is to access these reports. I know you're rolling your eyes, but they can't see it on.
It took me an hour. So there's 10 contributions per page. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I only had a chance. It took me an hour to do maybe 3 pages.
Yeah.
It's about 30. All right. So, and a lot of them that I was able to pass over because it never tells you what the contribution is. So I wasn't able to look down and say, all right, let me pick all the big contributions.
Yeah.
You have to actually click on and bring that up. And it says $5. Yeah, you click off again. You put a negative, boom, and it disappears. But you have to go through these one by one to find it. This is a lot of work. This is a lot of work. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give the senator every opportunity to explain this if she would like to come on the show. So why don't we just extend an invitation? If the senator is listening, if somebody in her staff is listening, if her close friends are listening, if her mom's listening, whatever, we would love to have the opportunity to discuss these. And I only mentioned a few, but when I added up my 3 pages, it was $20-something thousand, and that's just the beginning. There are 31 pages. So
the point I was trying to make was...
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Mario, please. The point I was trying to make is that, according to several published reports, Hinchey spent north of $1.5 million on her campaign in 2020. And even with all 30 pages here, you're talking a small percentage. I guess my question is, how influenced was she by these realtors, beyond not refusing to talk about it? I don't see it. And the other question is, which I think you've researched too, is she's asking for $200 million to be put into the state budget for housing and for a lot of worthwhile groups that build housing. RUPCO, I think, would be in that mix. This would be state-supported, state-funded. I wonder how much that $200 million filters back down to these campaign contributors.
Well, so what's interesting there is, I haven't seen the proposal, but if your counter argument is, let's spend money on housing, do developers benefit? They build them, right? Do landlords benefit? They rent them. Somehow, I have to believe that when you're this beholden to the real estate industry, that they're and I haven't heard the realtors say anything negative about that proposal. And if you go on their site, they have their positions, but they have not said anything negative about it. I have to believe that they're comfortable with it. That's all I can say. But again, let's invite the senator on the show. Let's talk about it. We're constituents, and I would be very.
I don't think we should hold our breath waiting for the senator to sit with us in the studio. This campaign seems to me a replay of her first campaign, where we repeatedly requested her to come on and debate with her opponent, who was her opponent, Amador, and is again. And I didn't even get so much as a phone call back.
That's shameful.
It is shameful. This senator is very, very carefully packaged and managed.
Well, and that seems to be the trend these days.
Yes.
That seems to be the trend where, I looked at our county executives' campaign contributions recently. It's one of the things I do for fun. And he's still got a consulting organization in Washington, D.C. on the payroll every month. He's cutting checks to a campaign consultant in D.C. And how'd that happen? I mean, why would you be doing that? You're not even running for office for 2 or 3 years, so they're probably helping with strategy and the polling and which way are we going here, and then planning for the future and laying the groundwork and stuff. So yeah, I mean, this is the nature of the beast. This is a very big business. This consulting and public opinion stuff, huge, absolutely huge. I'm in the wrong business. Anyway, we are ready for a break.
Thank God.
Praise the Lord.
I can appreciate that. Thank you. My breaks are a lot longer than yours. So, and many thanks to Mario Catalano and Hugh Reynolds for trudging through some of this incredible information and very, very, very poignant issues. And you are with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. 45 degrees right now on this April 1st. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank, many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, and one near you. And we'll be right back after these messages.
What grows in the forest? Our imagination and our family bonds. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council. Look through your children's eyes, and you will discover the true magic of a forest.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Eleanor Arrow from the town of Ulster, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
And again, thank you for being with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. It's now 45 degrees here on this April 1st, and let's see where we're going today. Light rain transitioning to a few showers for the afternoon with a high around 50. Chance of rain is 90% for today, of course. And mostly cloudy skies this evening will become partly cloudy after midnight without rain. And Saturday day, plentiful sunshine with a high around 55 degrees. And Saturday night, 35-degree low, partly cloudy skies during the evening, giving way to cloudy skies overnight. Sunday, light rain early, about 70% chance of rain early, then remaining cloudy with showers in the afternoon with a high of 47. And then Sunday night, a low of 34 with cloudy skies early, becoming partly cloudy later at night. This upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Robert Baum Commercial Realty, located at 79 St. James Street, Kingston, New York. Visit rgbaum.com for more information. Let's get back to the on-air studio with Hugh Reynolds and Mario Catalano. Welcome back.
And thank you. Now we're going to have our birthdays.
All right. Well,
this is our surprise now. Remember?
Yeah. We listen. We have a big surprise today, and normally we have our birthday announcements, and we give away a cow pie. Today, one of the local automobile dealers has donated a car.
Great.
So
for like a week or two.
So we're going to today's big birthday winner is going to receive a new car. So let's start. So today we have April 1st. Happy birthday, Diane Wood, from your family and friends. May you have a joyful day. Now, Oh, that's the only one we have for today.
Well, Diane lucked out, didn't she?
Well, Diane, not necessarily because April Fool, she's getting a cow pie. Darn. Okay.
From a new car to a cow pie.
Well, she's going to...
All in 1 minute.
I can drive her over for the cow pie, and she can have...
In your new car.
In my new car. All right, there you go. Finally got mine back from Hyundai. Anyway, Diane, you are the winner of the Boyce Dairy Milk House famous cow pie for today, and you may pick that up at 62 O'Neill Street in Kingston. Enjoy that cow pie. That is one of my favorite desserts. And I want to say, I have to disclose this, that I had 2 of those cow pies that I purchased in my freezer when Central Hudson failed to restore my service for 4 days, and they both melted all over the freezer. It was a disaster. They don't melt very well, Diane, so what I would suggest is eat it as quickly as you can before the next outage. Anyway, here we go. Saturday, April 2nd, mañana. And we have, please wish a happy birthday to Megan Tenore. From your friends and family, husband Seth, children Landon, Alana, and Lucas, mom and dad, your sibs Joel and Phil, Graham and Graham Craw, and Grandma Van. So Megan, happy birthday tomorrow. We have a second birthday, David Spiro. Happy birthday to David Spiro from your friends and family, your wife and your son Fox Moses. And we have a third. Saturday, April 2nd, please wish a happy birthday to Paula Tenike from your friends at the Girls Night Out Book Club. And the winner of the famous cow pie for tomorrow is Dave Spiro. Congratulations, Dave. And again, that comes to you courtesy of the Boyce Dairy Milk House at 62 O'Neill Street. Swing by, grab your famous cow pie, and enjoy it. They are absolutely delicious. And again, all of this is made possible by the Boyce Dairy Milk House and Kingston Community Radio. And happy birthday to all. Mr. Reynolds.
I have. We're done with that segment, Mario. Thank you. Well read.
I love birthdays. I should mention that today is my daughter's birthday. I didn't send in. She's not eligible for a cow pie, and they don't ship very well to Fort Lauderdale. So I didn't put her name in. She wouldn't win anyway. But anyway, Tracy Catalano, happy birthday. Go ahead. What do you got?
Well, getting back to the local scene.
No.
I was reading with some interest. It was in the Daily Freeman, the kind of a wrap up as we used to do. You'd run a story for maybe 2 months with regular installments, and then at the end of it, kind of wrap it up so so readers coming into the story for maybe the first time could get some perspective on it. And this particular story had to do with a dynamic in Kingston that has emerged, that some wealthy real estate developers and speculators have come in and bought up. What?
Have a call.
Oh, all right. I'll hold that.
Good morning, caller.
Hey, good morning, Mario.
Good morning.
Saugerties Democratic Committee is going to have a debate between Kevin Cahill and Sarah Hanna. I'd volunteer to be one of the moderators. Maybe Hugh Reynolds would want to volunteer to be the other.
When is it?
They haven't said it yet. I did talk to Kevin about it, and the committee has brought it up. I would think it's going to be April or May.
Yeah, put me down. I've done a lot of those over the years, and thank you for inviting me.
Well, hey, look, I don't know if I have the juice to make it happen, but I'm going to throw it out there.
Okay, thanks for the juice. Thank you.
Hey, I got a question for Mario. I've been looking over some of the legislation that the American Dental Association puts out, and I find it to be like on the light side, like it's not really doing much anything. Do you consider the American Dental Association to be pro-dentist or pro-patient? How would you assess that?
You know, if you've done any investigating whatsoever, you would find that it's the overriding factor is dental health. So the attitude of the American Dental Association, and you know, I was chairman of that PAC for 5 years, is if it's good for the patient, it's good for the dentist. So it's very interesting, but if you saw some of the things that they support, they generally will support increases in Medicaid funding for dentistry. They support the fluoridation of water. They support student loan forgiveness, because the average young dentist today comes out of dental school with I think the average now is $223,000 in debt. Dental school is one of the most expensive places to go to school. And what's happening is they're afraid that this huge amount of debt is going to compromise the quality of care. So yeah, I'd say that it's probably a marriage of what's good for the patient ultimately is also good for the profession.
Do you think they would be in support of legislation that makes dental professionals more responsible in terms of, you know, for liabilities, for responding to patients' needs? How would they stand on legislation like that?
Well, that's interesting, because the American Dental the liability laws are state laws. There is no federal liability torts. It's all state, so it's a state-by-state thing. So generally speaking, the state dental associations work on the local laws, and you know, it's a very interesting dynamic, because the trial lawyers in many instances, as in New York State, virtually own the legislature. So New York State is a very tough tort state for dentists and other health.
But the peer-to-peer review panel that they have set up in the judicial system is weighted heavily in favor of the dental practitioners and professionals, because there's probably a lot of cases of liability that have a lot of merit that get thrown out, and it gets thrown out. It's a visceral response. They're supposed to be impartial. But if you're a retired dental professional, you're not gonna pass a ruling against a colleague per se, you know, and you might not even be aware of the impartiality.
You're absolutely incorrect in New York State. In New York State, 70% of peer review cases are ruled in favor of the patient. So, and I know that firsthand, because I was also president of the New York State Dental Association. And one of my close colleagues is the chairman of the peer review committee, and in New York State, that number is 70% are ruled in favor of the patient. So you're off base on that one. I realize you're speculating that if it's, but let me just say this: in almost all the healthcare professionals, in my opinion, from what I've seen, are very critical of their colleagues when their colleagues make a mistake. Very critical.
That's good to know. Thanks a lot for that information. It's very informative. I'll have to talk to you sometime.
Absolutely. Anytime. You can reach me here every other Friday.
All right. Take care, gentlemen.
All right. Thanks for the invite. All right. I guess we're back. I know. I've never been questioned about it, but I thought that, I think it's probably a good piece of information. Anyway,
getting back to the Kingstonian. This is about the Kingstonian suits and the real estate. I believe his name is Bender, who has bought a number of properties in the Stockade area.
Yeah.
And as is his right, he's opposed to the Kingstonian project, which I think 60-40, I think, in terms of support. But this is a tactic that we saw with the Bel Air Resort up in Shandaken, that you can hold up these projects with lawsuits. And the latest one was, I thought, kind of over the top.
Yeah.
Where a Kingston alderman expressed his opinion, and I think he spoke to the same subject that
Alderman Frankel.
Frankel, who's, I think, a new alderman.
Yep.
Frankel, on the floor of the Common Council, spoke against this Bender person, and now I believe he's suing Frankel.
Well, he's threatening to.
He's threatening, yeah. Well, even the threat of a lawsuit has an impact, I think. And
You get the letter from Victoria Palladoro. She's the hammer.
Well, Victoria, I believe, she's from Rhinebeck.
Yep.
She seems to have gotten herself sort of a niche here, a niche. She was involved with the Irish Cultural Center downtown. I believe she represented people next door, and that's been held up for 7 years. And the fact is, it works. The thing up in Shandaken has been held up since 1998 when they announced that plan. That's like crazy. Again, major revisions were made to the Bel Air project. It was downsized, and some really. I won't deny that sometimes some very positive things come out of these challenges to what the developer wants to do. I know the Kingstonian project has been revised because some of the suit, but some of this stuff just seems like an alderman, to the best of my knowledge, and I've covered aldermen for a long time, and other legislatures that on the floor of the legislature from Congress on down, it's in the Constitution, those legislators have immunity from these types of threats. And I think it's that was well thought out by the founders. If our elected representatives can't speak offer their opinions on whatever subject comes before them, then that's a serious problem. Frankel, I think, stood up for what he said.
So the suit threat to Frankel is way out of line. In fact, illegal. Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
We agree.
I wish I had said that.
No, we agree with you. That's disgraceful. And I'm surprised, even as low regard as I have for attorneys, I am surprised that she didn't say to him, "Listen, this is out of order," but she just
to her client.
Yeah, I mean, she's just like a hired gun. This woman,
hired machine gun.
Yeah. Wow, we call her Machine Gun Palladoro. Her new nickname.
Sounds like somebody Elliot Ness should be after.
Here's the thing. I saw her letter. It was published, and essentially claiming that Mr. Bender is a proponent of historic preservation, and that's what this is all about. And I would be inclined to agree with that if he didn't have all these properties that would be competing against the new hotel. So, we're not really dumb, Ms. Polidoro. We may look like
we may sound
we
like
just fell off a turnip truck, but we've seen this act before. And my only regret, to be honest with you, is that if this man, this champion of historic preservation, could only have been around when Pete Sevago was building that frickin' monstrosity on Fair Street that is so out of character with everything else in Kingston, and you're telling us about historic preservation when you can see that building from your hotel. So, please, spare me, all right? But yeah, that was her approach. I mean, he's just a genuinely concerned citizen. Now they're doing an Article 78 to get the mayor's calendar. They want to know who the mayor was speaking to. Did you hear about that one? That's another lawsuit. And they haven't won one of them. Mott up in Columbia County, I think, is the judge on these, and he's just throwing one after the other out.
I'm a historic preservationist. I was a close friend to the late city historian Ed Ford, who I think died 2 years ago, and Ed very much led that revival of back in the 60s and 70s. And my view is that I think one of the attractions of Kingston architecture is its diversity. Now, you may call that building on Fair Street, the county office building, a monstrosity, but that's a subjective position of yours.
And that's been the position of WGHQ since 1969.
I know Harry Thayer used to call it the glass menagerie.
Glass menagerie.
But getting to my point, if I may, there is literally in Kingston there is 17th century buildings, 18th century, 19th century, and 20, and now 21. I think we need to preserve what we have and protect it. And there are laws and historic districts in place to do that. But when a developer, be it Bender or somebody else, comes in and is building something new, something different, it doesn't have to be a stone house.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's my take on it.
No, I agree with you. I think it's very important to see a progression of architecture because it changes over the years. Now, but you want it to have some character and not just be a glass, train wreck in the middle
there
of
you go again.
In a beautiful historic community. Would they have built that in Williamsburg, Virginia? They would have run whoever built that damn thing on a rail.
The one thing that does help is the Ulster County offices there, the center. What do you call it? The Ulster County
office building.
Office building, yes, sure. It's easy to spot. People are coming from all over Ulster County, from Highland and from way north and things like that, and it's easy to spot.
Oh, yeah.
So that's helpful.
But, in Greene County, they built a new office building that is completely in character with essentially Dutch architecture, brick.
Red brick.
The place it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, on time, under budget, unlike building anything in this county, and in keeping with the character. It actually enhanced Main Street instead of detracted from it. And I can't say enough about it. I drive by and I just admire this beautiful building that was just built maybe 10 years ago. And it could have been done here, but,
for you anti-glass buildings, a segment of our community, which is substantial, people are still...
I'm upset about it, and I wasn't even here when it happened.
Yeah, I got here a couple of years afterward, and they were screaming at the thing. Sevago and his lust for power and control, the late Sevago, I might add, former Republican chairman and legislature chairman and so forth. Sevago had his eye on the church on the corner, which at that particular time in its long history, was suffering from a lack of parishioners. You still got to heat the place. It's been revived. It's still there, thank God. It's a beautiful, beautiful building.
Gorgeous.
And on the other side, the Kirkland Hotel, which has been by Rupco, has been restored.
Thank God they saved it.
But that Republican legislature, if it had gotten its way, would have knocked down both those buildings to create another 50 parking spaces.
That's why Harry used to call them the Fiddlers 33.
Yes.
That's what he called the legislature. The Fiddlers 33. They were fiddling while Sevago
Kingston
was
burned.
burning
Yeah.
Kingston to the ground. God bless him. I love that man. I enjoyed that show.
He was an act.
He was, and we're trying to duplicate it, but we're not succeeding.
This has been an editorial of the air. Murder.
All right, so listen, we covered reapportionment, but I have a really important question to ask you because you follow this stuff better than I. But I understand the comptroller put out a report about Ulster County's investments. And what say you?
There was two reports that we could touch on. Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me.
This report was I don't know if that's hit the Freeman yet. Did it? I mean, I'm speaking from the press release. Essentially says that it said that the Ulster County government, which has about a $350 million budget, has something like $100 million in checking accounts. And as she said, you know the kind of interest that checking accounts draw, 0.1%, I think, which is atrocious, and that she recommended that they invest that money, which includes about $35 million in federal COVID money, which is sitting in a checking account, according to the comptroller, who's usually right on the facts. That this money, if it were conservatively invested, I mean you don't go to Wall Street with this money, would generate a minimum of $650,000 a year in additional interest, additional revenue, and that's a serious number, even in county government where you have $300 million budgets. $650,000 can go a long way toward either giving taxpayer relief or paying for some of the things that we need. She doesn't cite anybody in government for these decisions, and as most of us know, this is a pyramid structure over in that glass building, where the executive, the buck stops at the. In this case, not enough bucks, stops at the executive's office. I found that a bit lacking. I think a report like that should identify the people responsible for these policies and call on them, as the Freeman editorial might have done 10 years ago or 15 years ago, to change this policy. This is a waste of money.
So what other alternatives are there? You have to have it in liquid accounts.
Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to. Yeah, you have to have it in liquid accounts.
Yeah, it's got to be high. You could buy CDs that are very safe, short-term CDs.
They can do overnight. You can sweep an account into an overnight account and get interest on it. We do that in my office. We sweep the day's deposits into an overnight interest-bearing account.
What kind of interest do you get on that?
Not much. Yeah. Not much. Yeah. Probably right now, maybe 0.25%.
Well,
but still, guess what? If in the morning it's there's another $100 in the account, hey,
it's free money.
Money I didn't have, but some bank was making. Was because the banks do that. They sweep money into another bank. They might loan money to a bank overnight, and they charge interest.
Sure.
So pay me some interest. But, This reminds me of the Democratic version of the Reagan principle. Does not speak
ill
of a Republican. So maybe instead of calling this the Reagan doctrine, as it was known, we'll call this the Gallagher doctrine. That she will point out deficiencies, but not speak ill of another Democrat. That's fine.
She seems to think that these reports speak for themselves. Then
not quite.
I don't. Yeah, not quite.
Because the average person out there is really not going to know who's responsible for this. You know.
Well, in fact, the taxpayers are losing money, and that's an issue.
And that's her job, is to be this fiscal watchdog. But you gotta let us know, what dog you're watching. All right, we're ready for a break.
Thank you, Hugh Reynolds, Mario Catalano. And thank you for being with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920, 92.5 FM, WGHQ, and our live streaming on mykcr.org. It is Friday, March 25th, and 45 degrees right now here in Uptown Kingston. And this last portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by Robert Baum Commercial Realty, located at 79 St. James Street, Kingston, New York. Visit rgbaum.com for more information. And we'll be right back after these messages.
What grows in the forest? Our imagination and our family bonds. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council. Look through your children's eyes, and you will discover the true magic of a forest.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hi, my name is George Post from Ulster Park, New York, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you. Where else can you speak to your local representatives on the air and have your questions answered? So thank you, and support KCR.
And we're back, and you're with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, streaming online at mykcr.org. Call-in number is 331-9255, 845-331-9255. This upcoming programming is brought to you by the Friends of Kevin Cahill. As a strong advocate of local broadcasting, Assemblymember Cahill urges you to support Kingston Community Radio with your time and donations. Your contributions keep KCR vital and on the air at FM 92.5, AM 920, and on the web at mykcr.org. Join Assemblymember Cahill and send your gifts of $10, $25, or more to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. Together, let's keep KCR alive. And let's get back to the on-air studio with Hugh Reynolds and Mario Catalano for our last segment.
All right.
And the other news coming out of the, which I think has been published, coming out of the Comptroller's office, is she has done another audit on the Resource Recovery Agency. This is kind of a ballpark for the Comptroller. To her credit, and I would give her props for her earlier audit, in which the RRA refused to turn over information on, I think his composting operation, and that one, pardon the pun, that one really stank. Not the report, the operation, and these guys stonewalling the board, which is appointed by the legislature, stonewalling the Comptroller, claiming she didn't have jurisdiction over them. and they went to court. And I believe the RRA spent $60,000 on lawyers, which is total, talk about solid waste, a total waste of money against the controller. And she prevailed, and she got the information that she felt was necessary. And
Didn't we also get 3 new board members out of it?
yeah, which a sitting board member called puppets for the legislature.
And then the new board voted to discontinue the legal action.
Yes.
And they were accused of being puppets.
Yeah.
And the excuse by one of the board members, Charlie Landy, was,
Hey, $60,000 now.
yeah, we already spent 60. Let's keep going.
Keep going.
Oh, yeah, what the heck?
I mean, God help us. These people are in charge of solid waste policy. But in any case, Gallagher put out a shorter, no doubt with some of the information that she was able to secure through her lawsuit, that the bookkeeping operation over there, the accountability is really not is questionable, and she needs to. The RRA needs to tighten up its act.
She didn't do that. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that.
The RRA then turned around and hired an accounting
for
firm
$20,000. That's right.
and paid them $20,000 to tell them everything that the comptroller told them. Are these people out of control or what? Meanwhile, we got garbage piling up, and they're up to $80,000 on this deal.
Which deal is that?
Well, $60,000 for the lawsuit,
Oh.
$20,000 to reiterate what the comptroller already told them for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, and they keep raising our tipping fees.
Thank you for that correction, Mario, on live radio. I really appreciate that, and I'll save it for my funeral tape. But no, something that we didn't discuss in our careful preparation for this program
Absolutely.
was the startling information last week from the RRA that the landfill that we've been going to, right?
Yeah.
Out in Seneca Meadows, which is about 240 miles west of here, that we've been dumping Ulster County garbage for I don't know how many years, was believed to be going out of business would be now about 3 years, and we repeatedly heard or were warned that it was going out of business, that they could not continue. It's an old landfill for one thing, and at a meeting of the RRA, they were discussing this so-called deadline that we got to do something. Well, to do something is to cite, and that's sort of obviously open for discussion, was to cite a landfill in Ulster County. So we're not driving these trucks out there with diesel trucks, I might add, with all that implies, and the expense is $6 million, roughly $6 million a year to cart garbage out to.
And that was when diesel was $3.50 a gallon. Now it's $5.20 a gallon.
Exactly. We'll feel that in our wallets pretty soon. But it came as a revelation, apparently, at this meeting of the RRA with some other people in attendance, where someone was citing this deadline that we got to do something about it, and a representative from the garbage company said, "We're not in any danger of closing. In fact, we're negotiating with the DEC, the State Department of Environmental Conservation.
Yeah.
We're negotiating with them to extend our landfill another 15 years." And I mean, my palm went to my head when I heard about that. And I've the legislature chairwoman, Tracy Bartles, is a strong advocate of a Ulster County landfill owned and operated
Solution.
As a local independent solution.
Yeah.
Because Seneca Meadows could shut us down tomorrow and say tough luck. And I support her. Not that I matter, but I think that makes sense. That's sensible and should have been pursued.
I support it also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the notion that this was out there, and I repeated it many times, and that all of a sudden it's not a deadline, and it's 15 years out there. I got to wonder, I wonder who knew that when they knew that. The RRA had to know that. I mean, that's their job. They're in charge. They got to be on the phone with these guys out in Seneca Meadows at least once a week. You know what's going on. Blah blah blah. They're their provider. It's a customer relationship, and that bang, all of a sudden. I mean, was I and a lot of other people who were surprised by this just in the dark, or was this being promoted or kept secret? To promote this Ulster County landfill project, which will run into some headwinds, no matter where they put this. One of my experiences as a longtime journalist is that when you make a mistake in the paper and repeat it, that is favorable to the person, say the politician, say the RRA in this instance. They don't correct it. It goes on and on and on. You read a lot of history. How many new history books? Say you pick up a new book on the Battle of Gettysburg, and you learn something you didn't learn before because of some new research. That's why I read history, because I'd love to find the stuff out. So I think we've embarked on a. Now the other component I think in this is that the fact that we were under a deadline, apparently, that was rapidly approaching, apparently. Drove legislators to finally deal with this issue, and the way they're dealing with it is apparently to build a landfill. But now with a 15-year window, I wonder somebody's going to say, why mess with this thing now? We got 15 years. That's what they said 15 years ago. Why mess with it, particularly on our watch? None of these people want to be associated with a landfill, and none of them will be associated with a landfill in their district.
So I have a question,
okay,
and I'd be interested in your take on this. Do you think that the RRA folks, the executive director, knew about this, or did they find out about it at that meeting? Do you think they were aware of this?
I think I spoke to that. I think that if they were not aware of it, they should have been aware of it.
Good.
They do business with these guys. I don't even say these guys, with this company on a regular basis. They have no place else to go for the garbage, so they better pay attention to what's going on out there.
So do you think that because the county, to a great extent, funds and supplements the funding of the RRA, that the chairman of the legislature, the chairperson of the legislature, has been talking about possibly siting a landfill. Do you think that she was entitled to a phone call from these folks?
Absolutely.
So what I see is an absolute adversarial situation developing here between the people on the RRA and the legislature. And I find that when I'm paying people six figures to do a job, that at the very least they can be appreciative and try and work with me. I'm very disappointed. I mean, we've had the RRA people on here. I'm astonished that that phone call didn't go out. This was virtually sandbagging the new RRA members and the chairman of the legislature. How does that translate into a good working relationship? What are they thinking?
I think part of it, I have to agree with you. I I think part of it is that the RRA was set up, and this is I'm not excusing this. I agree with you, but the RRA was set up as an independent organization for the reason they didn't want, quote unquote, the politicians, the people we elect, interfering with what was an unpleasant task of disposing of solid waste. So they had that kind of independence, and I think it evolved into what may be an adversarial situation. This is our job.
Yeah.
We're going to do the job. Don't ask any questions, and we're not going to give you any information, apparently, either.
Yeah, I it's our money, and first of all, they needed to have controlling the entire stream so that haulers couldn't even take garbage out of the county.
Yeah.
And the legislature gave them that to improve their funding. The legislature makes up these deficits, etc. And at the very least, you would think that, and the legislature appoints your board. I mean, at the very least, I think anybody with a double-digit IQ should figure out that, you know what, why don't we try and get along? Instead, to me, that was a gotcha moment. That was an absolute gotcha moment. You guys knew that this thing was, and you let Tracy get up there and start talking about citing a landfill and making this a priority when you know that we got another 15 years? That's wrong. I'm sorry. That is wrong.
And Tracy herself talking about deadlines, saying, we only got a few years. In fact, I think they ran, I learned in driver ed, if you do over 60 miles an hour in your car at night, you've overrun your headlights. By the time you see it, you can't stop.
Yeah.
So this essentially was the argument that the county had already overrun its headlights because it would take a minimum of 5 years to locate, build, and get permitted a landfill. So they were in that really panic situation.
Yeah.
I think open warfare has broken out on the RRA board itself. I've never seen, not never, but I have not seen the kind of insulting remarks between the minority on that board, the old board, and the majority. I mean, calling people puppets. That's kind of ugly stuff, and challenging the integrity of people and the honesty of people, back and forth.
And these are volunteers.
Yeah.
And you're insulting them, and they just got on the board. I know. Good morning, caller. Would you like to discuss?
Good morning. I just wanted to give a quick comment and a question on what you're talking about here. First of all, thank you so much for the way that your show and Mr. Reynolds, your column, has elevated this whole issue. With the landfill. It's something that's in the forefront in a way that I think it hasn't been for a lot of folks in the community. And I want to say this, with this whole notion of all of a sudden, now we know it's 15 years that we have. Is that really true? And I would love to know, do we feel that's actually true? Or is it possible that there's, some variable or something they're looking at so they can say this, but there's another angle you can look at it from and say, no, we don't have 15 years. How certain are we that this is really true and not grounded in a little politics or something else where they're fudging it? Thank you.
Well, there's an aspect of this that's been published, caller, in the local press that it's not just a sidebar either. It seems that the people, the residents around this landfill who have protested against its expansion for many years, because of the things that go with an old landfill, the traffic and the stench and what have you.
And I also understand there's quite a bit of odor, and depending on the direction of the wind, it could be a little uncomfortable.
And so these folks on the town board were all in favor of it shutting down, of just eliminating, put a cap on it, and move on.
Yeah.
And in a local parallel, which I'll get to in a minute, something like $200,000 was invested in a town board race in Seneca Falls, which there's not a lot of people on a town out there, and so $200,000 would go a long way, and elected a new majority on the town board, which is pushing the 15-year expansion.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's a big point.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I'm sorry I didn't bring it up in my column. The parallel is, Mario, you could remember this because you and I are pretty old now. In the town of Poughkeepsie, where the Galleria Mall is located now and has been for a long time, that was opposed by the town board for various reasons, and I think that the Galleria has been a net asset to both shoppers and government in terms of taxes it generates, but it was not. It couldn't get through the town board, and the town Republican chairman who supported it was a guy named Paroli. Remember?
Yep.
I believe.
Didn't he wind up in jail?
He went to jail,
Yeah.
and Paroli and the developers got together, and they essentially bought themselves a couple of new town board members, which is what happened out in Seneca, and they reversed the town board and granted the permits that built the Galleria, and Paroli went to jail, and but he got out, so Paroli was a Paroli actually. I use that line in my column. It's one of my favorites. I'll never forget it.
Well, I agree with you both, and I really hope that regardless if it's 15 years or not, they continue to work on this at this point, and I appreciate the topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, caller.
Yeah, great question.
And what else have we got?
We've got a lot.
Oh, this charter review. I don't know. This is kind of the kind of wonk, not woke, but wonk stuff that you and I like to talk about, Mario. That I'm not too sure. I mean, it is in effect the county constitution. These are the basic rules that we live under, and the legislature lives under. And if a proposal or even legislation that's passed that is counter to the charter, it can be appealed, and a court will look to the charter like they do. The Supreme Court does, and on this level, and the original charter, which I know you and I are not crazy about, the way it was done in the provisions. It provides the power it provides for the executive, but there's supposed to be a charter review every 10 years, I believe.
Yes.
And those 10 years are up a couple of years now. And under the charter, the executive appoints a charter review commission, which I think puts and then
I believe the legislature
has a couple of members on.
Yeah, also.
But the majority, I think 5 out of 9, are executive appointments. As of lately, the legislature, under new leadership, has been petitioning, and they shouldn't have to, petitioning the executive to appoint these people and get on with the work of reviewing the charter.
So there also is supposed to be a countywide reapportionment because the census is out, and the next election, which is next year, should have new districts.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anything about that. I believe there's been a group appointed. But the thing is, what I'm really upset about, and I have preached about this, if you're going to have provisions in the legislature that require a 2/3 vote, for instance, to override, then the number of legislators ought to be divisible by 3.
Yeah.
You can't have 2/3 of some random number.
Like 23.
Like 23. So essentially, the way our charter works, even though you require a 2/3 vote to override, because we don't have a number divisible by 3, The actual override requires 74% of the legislators. You require 16 of the 23 to override, when in fact, if we had 21 legislators, which we should have, or even fewer, it would be 14 votes. So the extra 2 legislators are both required to override, and to me, that skewers things in favor of the exec. So I feel at the very least we should reduce to 21. My preference would be 15. Now, again, I have to say this, all right? Republicans don't want to do that, because the smaller the districts, the better chance they have of not getting swept up in this huge Democratic plurality. However, they really didn't do very well in the last election, even with the districts the way they are.
So it's seven members?
Oh yeah, it was
16.
It's a disaster. Yeah, 16 to 7, and so in my opinion, now this may change with Tracy, but up to date, to me, and I served on the legislature. This legislature is essentially an embarrassment. They do nothing. They tell me what they do. Show me. Show me what was that old commercial? Show me the beef. Where's the beef? What do these people do? You got 23 of them bumping into each other. They go to committee meetings. What do they do? What comes out of this?
They gave themselves a raise. No, well, a commission gave them a raise, recommended a raise, which they accepted. Going back to ancient history with the jail, I think one of the overriding concerns was there seemed to be no control by the legislature over this jail project, and that when you had at that time 33 legislators, if you think 23 bump into each other in the same size room, all kind of point fingers the other way or looking out the window, and meanwhile, $25 million seems to disappear. They wanted a strong executive, and they kept making the executive position stronger and stronger. Mm-hmm. And this is why you have a charter review. This is the jail was completed, or this charter was passed in 2006. We're going on 16 years now. A lot of things have changed. We've had a lot of experience with executives, good and bad. And it's time. That may be why the executive isn't interested, because the system as it is working very well for him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, if I were Patrick Ryan, I would say, why do we want to do anything? This is perfect.
It's not broken.
I don't even hear from these people. I mean, it's great. In my opinion, first of all, this legislature, believe it or not, has subpoena power.
I know that.
When's the last time they had a hearing on anything? They're talking about, Central Hudson is doing this. They didn't respond properly. Okay, why don't you have a hearing? You have subpoena power. You can do this. We're not, the RRA. I mean, whatever it is, whatever the issue is, they have never had since the new charter, they have never had a hearing where they actually sat and said, similar to what Congress does, let's bring somebody in here because we have questions that we want answered. Everything is done at a committee meeting, and they don't do it under oath. And in my opinion, you don't get straight answers when you don't do it under oath. It's as simple as that. All right? I'm coming to a meeting, and I'm sitting around, and everybody's having a kumbaya moment. I just tell them whatever they want to hear. That's all. And I walk out of the place, and I'm fine. But they have powers that they don't even use. The second thing that they require, in my opinion, they require staff members. There should be, from let's say every 3 committees, there should be a standing staff member similar to what the executive has. Because the staff people Staff people can
They can inform the legislature.
Well, yeah, and they can provide the background information that they need to make suggestions. The reason they have to only react to the executive's suggestions is because he's got this huge staff. They don't have anybody. They're all part-time. They have nobody pursuing proposals, pursuing issues, and guess what? Appoint a couple of staff members to work full-time on and research.
Policy.
Yeah. Come on. All
We're
right,
done.
so it looks like
See you in 2 weeks, folks.
It looks like we are done. Thank you for all the calls. It was a banner day.
Thank you, Mario Catalano, Hugh Reynolds, and thank you so much for all of your incisive and very informative information. And just to hash it out, April 1st today, 45 degrees right outside our KCR studios, and thank you for sharing the morning with us and being with us at KCR, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by the Friends of Kevin Cahill. As a strong advocate of local broadcasting, Assemblymember Cahill urges you to support Kingston Community Radio with your time and donations. Your contributions keep KCR vital and on the air at FM 92.5 and AM 920, and on the web at mykcr.org. Please join Assemblymember Cahill and send your gifts of $10, $25 or more to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. Together, let's keep KCR alive. And again, we thank you so much for being with us today. And these are inspired discussions of, by, and for the community. We invite you to keep up with us every weekday, and until Monday, we wish you every success in growing and developing Kingston and all neighboring communities. We now return you back to Magic 92.5.